Guess we got to get turned on first.
Did you notice
She
they have a
emailed
We are on.
typo
She-
on their flyer that they just sent
This is
out to us?
Julie
Okay.
with,
Yes.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're in our afternoon session. We'll go back in. Our next agenda item is a presentation from the Go Out Local for Off-Road Stampede of Valley County Fair grounds. And Julie, I take it you're going to lead this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you and we'll see what we got.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys, for allowing me to call in. I actually came up previously with my colleague Paige Wilson in the past to do the similar presentation, but I know a few things have been dropped, and I wanted to kind of get on this call and just talk to you a little bit about the event, kind of figure out what I need to do moving forward to make sure we can get this happening again, and kind of answer any questions that you guys might have, since it has been a change in leader on this. So basically what I'm wanting to do is on July 24th, bring the Off-Road Stampede Series up to Cascade. It's an ATV UTV off-roading event that features a trail over the National Forest Service, and then back at the venue site we would do ATV UTV soccer, ATV UTV barrel racing, and a pinata beatdown. It's a really great event. We just had one in Idaho City this past weekend, and I think it's something that will be really great for Cascade. We really want to bring it up to that location. We've only heard great things about you guys, and I've been working with Sharon Bixler to try and get this off the ground. And I have spoken with the city. I do understand that there's still a permit that needs to be submitted that I actually finished this morning and will be scanning over to them. But I essentially wanted to speak with you all and just see what my next steps are going to be, what you need from us, and what I can do to get this going moving forward.
Well, Julie, I think at one time we kind of thought that you guys had kind of walked away from this, so we're going to have to kind of start over on a lot of it. We need to get certain on the dates. We have a lot of road department equipment in there that's going to have to be moved. I know there was an issue about parking, and we've gotten notice from Mark Picard that there's not going to be parking allowed on KWP, so the parking is an issue. And there's a lot of unanswered questions that we need to kind of figure out.
Okay. I am aware of the parking situation, and I have been working on finding some alternate lots and locations. I'm aware about the Whitewater Parkway, no parking will be there. I did speak with Parks and Rec the last time I was up there, and we were able to get a few spots up there, but I'll reach out and confirm that with them as well. And then we're just looking for the best option for parking. We understand that, you know, they're big rigs and they're big trailers, so I'm trying to find a spot that's out of the way that won't mess with your already planned out areas, and I don't want to be in neighborhoods and things like that. So we are aware of the parking situation, and I am getting on that as quickly as possible.
So do you plan on coming up here in the next week or so and sitting down with folks and finishing these permits and kind of getting the gist of what everybody's going to need?
Yes, absolutely. I do actually, I'm pulling up my calendar as we speak. I have a site visit planned for, let me take a look. Within the next 2 weeks, I have a site visit that'll be happening, and it'll be myself and my group of coordinators that are going to be working on the project.
So are you going to notify anybody that you're here so we can meet, pick out a date and a time? Because I think the mayor needs to be there. I think probably our road department supervisor needs to be there to kind of see what you're going to do. We need to know if there's going to be electricity required for vendors and who's going to pay that bill.
Right.
There's just a lot of unanswered questions that I think we need to get started on here pretty quick.
Yes, I completely agree. I'm going to take a look at my schedule, and I'm going to put a site visit out there and email everyone that would need to be there so we can get a good date going and just try and knock all this out.
I
Does that
also
work for
think
you guys?
the fair board also needs to be there at this point, because that's 2 weeks before fair. I mean, if you guys mess up that arena at all, we're already probably potentially going to have animals in there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm concerned with how close it is to fair.
Okay. Okay, I was unaware about your guys' fair during that day, but that makes a ton of sense for us. Would there be, so we wouldn't technically be able to use the rodeo grounds then if there are animals in it, correct?
It doesn't work very good with four-wheelers and animals in the same arena, no.
Right. Right, that makes sense. Would there be, what other potential area would we be able to use?
I'd call Phil
If the
Davis and
animals
see
are
if he'll
active.
leave it out on the ranch. I mean, Phil just had a big
Okay,
snowmobile race. I mentioned this to Sharon when we were together before. He's
okay,
actually allowed, stuff out on his property, which would be much better for you
Okay.
guys. There'd be parking on site. I mean, it would be a much better situation,
Yeah, but
but
it's a little different in
don't
the
know.
summer because in the wintertime, you're not destroying the grass. In
Yeah,
the
I got it.
summertime, we're all gonna need every blade of grass we can get this year. But I think it's worth a shot. I'm
Agreed.
not trying to discourage that, but,
yeah, I'd absolutely be open to that option. I can reach out and try and get that contact information if that's okay with you all, and try and work something out and see if that's a better alternative.
well, the mayor is sitting here in the room with us now, and I think she really needs to be involved because we've got to line out,
Yeah,
which route you guys are gonna take out of town and how you're gonna get to the forest roads and we got to get the sheriff's department involved if we're gonna be going
Right.
across Highway 55. So there's a lot of issues that I think we need to sit down and talk here pretty quick.
well, and the sheriff
Okay.
has already said she
What
will
would
not
be
close
the-
55.
Oh.
Oh,
And I don't know if a sheriff can close a highway.
no.
They can
Well, she
close a
can
county
for the
road, but they
fair,
can't close
but-
a highway.
Or she can for the
No, and I was gonna say, one
parade,
thing
but-
that I was just gonna add to it as well is we'd agreed to let the city run point on this, and the letter that you sent us a couple weeks ago, Mayor, mentioned that there was a deadline for application, which I'm just wondering if we already passed that date, or are we still within?
No, it was supposed to be 45 days, but we pushed it to 60. And I believe that each one of the commissioners got a copy of that special events permit, which is meant to be a planning tool because it's meant to have places where the different entities, the board or the commissioners, EMS, ITD, all of them, it gives them a place where they can sign off so that we have actual written permissions or acknowledgement that this event is going to happen. So that's, what has been sent to formerly Paige and now Julia and following up on. So Julia, I would reiterate that permit, because we put a lot of thought into that permit of the entities that need to be aware of, that need to be notified and in the loop and are on board with that activity.
okay. I'll
And-
make sure that I follow up with everyone that needs to be in the loop on this, and I can get an email chain of some kind going so I can figure out a date that works for everyone. So I can come up for the day and just meet with all of you and knock all this out, hopefully.
We
Well-
declared an emergency this morning, a drought emergency, so now we're putting a bunch of UTVs out, knowing that we have a drought
Okay.
situation this year, that could be a concern also. I mean, there would need to be some kind of making
Okay.
sure that everybody had on a catalytic converter or something, spark arrestor of some kind. Make sure that nothing could spark in the forest this year.
And most of them do have them now, I think.
Mhm.
But I think, Julia, I guess the message from us is that, I think it's okay if you guys want to come up and do this, but it can't be last minute. There's got to be a lot of planning involved in this, and I think the sooner you start, the better. And I don't know about trying to get us all on one day. That's going to be really difficult for a lot of us. So you may be spending
Okay.
more than just one day trying to track this down up here.
Okay,
So keep that in mind, and
I'm
then,
gonna do,
And if, Julia,
I'm
this
gonna
is,
do whatever I can to just come up there and if it's multiple trips, we'll make it happen, and, I'll make sure that there's as much planning as possible going into this. I don't want this to be a last minute event for you guys either. I completely understand that, and I want all the proper parties looped in on it.
and Commissioner
yes, go ahead.
If I could just interject, Julia, this is Judy Missoula, the mayor. An example
Okay.
of what Paige did send us was the release of liability from the Fair Board which was a
Okay.
typewritten piece of paper. But it didn't have the Fair Board on it. It didn't have anything from Fair Board chairman that it was just a release of liability of which Page signed. And that really didn't mean anything and certainly was not a final permission or approval of the fairgrounds.
Okay.
It just was a release of liability. So the governing bodies, those elected officials or appointed officials have to be the ones that are signing that, not someone that, you know, as maybe just a committee member or something like that. So I don't know if you're getting any direction from Sharon or what. But it's like I said, the elected or appointed officials of the different outfits or of the different organizations need to be the ones that are in the loop and signing that form.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. I think Paige had misinterpreted what that meant and was moving forward with it in the wrong sense, so I appreciate that clarification. And I do want to apologize for all the crossovers that have been happening, and I was under the impression that Paige had locked things down a little more solidly than she had, but I want you all to know that we are on top of this. I completely understand how much planning needs to go into it, and we'll make it happen, and I'll make sure that we're on the ball for this.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll just wait to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send a follow-up after this meeting, and then I'll do what I can to reach out to all the parties and try and get some meetings on the books for everyone.
Okay. Anybody
Thank
else?
you so much for all your time, everyone, and I really appreciate it.
Before you go away, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Now's the time to put them out there. I don't see any hands, so we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you all so much again. I really appreciate it.
Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Can I hang this up, Doug?
Sir.
Well, we'll see where that one goes. Okay, we're gonna go back down on our agenda and, you want to do commissioner discussion?
Yes, sir.
First item up is the meeting minutes of June 7th. Everybody get a chance to look at those?
Yes.
Move that we approve the meeting minutes of June 7th.
Second that?
Moved and seconded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And Doug, you've already kind of talked about
Yeah,
the
if I could
conflict.
just provide a brief
Sure, if you want to
overview
update.
for the meeting minutes. Commissioners, I did approximately the end of May submitted a request for proposal on the Idaho State Bar website. They have a location that you can post, job opportunities within the state of Idaho. So I did put a request for proposals for conflict public defender in Valley County. I received 3 inquiries, provided them with a little bit more explanation of what that entailed. Unfortunately, by the deadline of June, I think June 10th was the deadline to receive requests for proposals. I did not receive any proposals whatsoever. I have communicated with the public defender, Scott Erickson, as well as the prosecuting attorney's office, just to try to get additional word out. Again, that did not generate any requests for proposals. Right now, we're down to really one conflict public defender, Mr. Mike Pierce. Our other conflict public defender, John DeFranco, has a federal trial taking place through September. So it is imperative that we do have at least an addition, 1, potentially 2 additional attorneys that can act as conflict defender. So what I'll probably do is reach out again to Mr. Erickson, to prosecuting attorney Noggle, let him know that we did not receive anyone, and if they could reach out to some potential candidates and get this matter back on an upcoming agenda.
Excuse me, is this a salary thing, Doug?
It's
or
not,
anything?
I don't, I think it's just,
Everybody's slammed right now. Court started again.
Yeah, I think that's one mitigating factor. I think
Don't want to drive up here probably.
that's
They don't have
another,
a place to stay when they do get up here.
you got it. I think that's also something to consider. I don't know.
So this is our responsibility. This isn't Erickson's law office's responsibility. I mean, they are our defenders. If
Correct.
they can't do it, it's not their obligation to find somebody else.
I can't say that it is or it isn't.
Okay.
I think it really comes down to probably a county's responsibility to make sure that we have attorneys that can represent individuals that meet the indigent factor. It is nice, though, if we have assistance from the public defender's office to provide us with potential options or potential attorneys that would be willing to do it. I can't ask them to do any more than what they've already done. I think probably what it comes down to maybe me doing is not just publishing it on the Idaho State Bar site, but maybe the Statesman, maybe the Star News. I don't know if that would generate any more response. We had luck in the past using the Idaho State Bar website. Just unfortunately, this time around, we did not.
Ryan, do you have any options or any places you would go?
Adams County have a public defender?
They do. I don't know if, again, I could make contacts with some of our surrounding counties. We
Boise County?
did reach out to the Boise County Public Defender, and they did not have an interest in doing it. They're like Commissioner
slammed
Lappin,
for public safety.
they're very busy.
Yeah.
So yes,
Have you talked to Judge Dingledine about this?
we have. We've made Judge Dingledine and Judge Scott aware of our predicament that we're in, and they're aware of it. So we'll keep working on this. It hasn't become a critical issue. I mean, it hasn't been an issue that's impacted anyone at this point in time. But we do need to, when I say we, I still need to get the word out there that there is an opening that we need to fill as a conflict public defender.
So do we pay like the Franco windshield time coming up here too?
We do.
I thought we did.
We do. We
So we've
pay
covered that expense.
we pay drive time.
I still can't balance this in my mind. I don't know why, but we have a contract with Erickson.
Correct.
All they have to do is say, we are opting out of this and we have to go and hire other attorneys in order to cover that work. Does that reduce their contract?
No.
Yeah,
It's on a case, and it's, the judge makes the formal determination, right? So it does
Okay.
go before the judge first.
got it.
And they have to articulate to the judge why they are unable to represent this individual.
Okay.
And they also have to represent that person is indigent.
That
No?
that person has to make, yes,
person has to
that
say,
person
I-
has to
I can't
apply.
afford an attorney, so you have to find.
Correct.
one
There's a
for me.
formal application for
Now,
that.
if Scott
Lot.
has defended him something else, and there's a conflict, so we gotta find another or another attorney. But
So we'll continue to work on this, but I just wanted to provide a brief update to the commissioners regarding the situation.
well, I think Doug, it might pay to run a shot in the Statesman, run a shot in the Star News, and see what you get.
Yeah,
At least you've covered your bases there.
we've done what we can.
You see how much we paid out last year for conflict resolution?
70.
Not, last year wasn't very, this year or last year?
Well, yeah, COVID got in the way. It just feels like we've been paying a lot in conflict attorneys.
We budget for it though. It's in that
It's,
public defender budget. 75,000?
No, it's 50,000.
50,000?
We're almost to the point of having a public defender conflict attorney in-house versus,
Gotta have one with Mike Pierce. If Mike wasn't here,
Yeah.
we'd be in big trouble.
I'm finally figuring out this, but I always thought that Erickson's, hired that person or whatever. I didn't realize that was the judge and it was our
And above and beyond the contract that we
above
already
and
have.
beyond the contract. Well, that's what bothers me is, so somebody could, I didn't realize it was appointed. I just thought they could say, we can't do this one, and, you know, we're paying 50,000 on top of what we're paying the public defender.
But if you're the public defender, as long as Scott has, you're gonna run into conflicts of people that you defended. You know, you could explain it better than I can.
Well, so conflict of interest arises in criminal cases. Like, for example, today, we had two people charged with a crime that were together. So, imagine one of those persons, their legal interest direct conflict with the person they were with when that. So that's where it is split. Erickson handled the other one. That way their legal interests are protected and they're not getting legal advice from
Sure.
what your conspirator was involved in. So
He made me do it.
you're right.
That makes sense to me. I mean, why? But the funding mechanism doesn't make sense to me.
There's
So,
there's gonna be a big demand for conflict defenders, just because of various ways. Volume, although I think it is a high volume workload for the Erickson firm.
So, just a hypothetical, if two guys come in like that, Scott says, I'll take one, I'll give the other one to one of my other attorneys, can you do that? Because they're in
Maybe
the
within the
same
firm.
office.
Okay, that's a question I had as well. I know he's got three, well, including himself, he's got 3 attorneys in there. That's what I didn't understand.
You know, there is a system for walling off the other attorneys. That's difficult. The county at high risk for a case system. Working that closely together.
How many cases do we generally have, Doug? Or how many opportunities do we need contract people for?
I mean, right off the top of my head, probably 20 to 30 a year. And that also includes CP cases, child protection cases, where you have the parent has an attorney, the child has an attorney. So that also, they're also utilized in child protection cases. This year, we've expended 24,000 of the conflict public defender budget.
and court really hasn't even been in session this
I was
year.
gonna say, and this was like almost a no court year.
The other thing that's really interesting, and it used to bother me, but I see why they're doing it, is that both the conflict and the public defender gets paid by the county. The person that's in trouble doesn't pay anybody, he just does whatever
Well,
he
if
gets.
if the judge orders, there is some restitution that's ordered
Whether or not he gets
at
paid,
at a reduced rate.
getting paid is a different story, but it's a way to protect your attorneys is basically what it is. Keep them in
Even if
business.
we were to have an in-house public defender, there would have to be a conflict attorney hired.
Correct.
So now you're paying an employee with all the benefits, plus paying an outside law firm to do it. But at least maybe then you'd have solid,
But we've talked about that with Scott. How about, why don't you just move into this facility and be one of our attorneys? But there would be way too many conflicts.
Yeah.
We'd have to probably double or triple that conflict budget because he's the only one in that show.
Yeah.
But there comes a point, I think it's 270,000 a year for Scott's office, that, gosh, we could put 2 attorneys here for almost that.
you'd still have then the conflict. I'm trying to
You still-
mentally just think through, you know, if we had the conflict resolution, then you still always have to have that third person, you know, on the outside. But
At one time, we had 4, I think, didn't we, Doug?
We had 4 conflicts at one point in time. We had
Yeah, we had
DeFranco,
one.
we had Lane Davis,
Yeah.
we had Cormanick, and we had Mike Pierce.
So if you have any attorney friends in McCall that you know, might pay to give them a call and say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? It's a part-time, it's not a full-time job. That's the kind of another way we can find help. There's a lot of attorneys around. They're kind of like farmers. Okay, we're gonna move on down. Review and approve required documents for the Idaho Department of Commerce grant for the Yellow Pine water users. As we know, they got the grant, but I believe the issue is someone needs to get an agreement with Yellow Pine.
Did
And
that all
who's
get
working on that?
tabled?
Is that you, Oak, or?
I think that all got tabled.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Chairman,
we're,
we are going to delay that until next Monday, that matter.
so we're getting close. Okay. And does that include the project's environmental review record? What is that? I don't know. I'm asking Doug, I guess.
I think Mary had this on the agenda. and
She
tabled
did.
it.
Let me provide you with.
Review record. Because part of the Epstein Bridge that we're gonna replace is gonna hang this water line.
So Mary sent us
To
an
the
email
yellow
this
line.
morning and it said
Yeah.
that Mountain Waterworks didn't have the environmental documents ready to go yet either.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chairman, like I mentioned, I had reviewed this contract on Friday. And one of the components that is a requirement from this grant from the Department of Commerce is that there's going to be an environmental review. Project planning can proceed without that environmental review being completed, but before any construction can take place, that environmental review has to be completed. It's basically a NEPA analysis.
that's what it sounded like.
Uh-huh.
Ugh.
So it's technical and it's going to be, and so one of my comments from reviewing this contract on Friday was, where are we at with this? Because I know this is going to be a fairly in-depth and technical analysis, and before we can proceed with construction according to the terms of the contract, that's got to be completed. There were 3 exhibits that were not included in the documents that were submitted to me for review, and I think Mary was putting that together today. I got some feedback from her this morning that she was putting together the exhibits. One of the exhibits was that environmental review was going to
Okay.
be Exhibit A. So I haven't seen it, but it's a requirement that needs to be there. The contract looked in order, other than these other questions that just seem to need to be answered. And it sounds like Mary's working on it. We'll be prepared to present that next Monday.
Okay. That catches us up on that. What's next? Update on commissioner boards?
Or that, or if you wanted to go into indigent now, Mr. Chairman, whatever
We
you
could do
desire.
that. We have, see, you guys are on it too, so we got a little bit. Yeah, so let's go into an executive session per Idaho Code 742061D. I need a motion for that, please.
Like motion, we go into executive session per Idaho Code 742061D.
Second.
Moved and seconded by roll call.
England, aye.
Mop and I.
Hasbrook, aye. So we got to kick everybody out. Indigent.
There.
Just a little thing, that NEPA document.